Hello, CrossFit world. This is Travis with the Invictus Gymnastics program. Today we are going to talk about the hollow position and where, if it does have a place in CrossFit, would you actually use this position. First of all, I would like you to know what the hollow position is. And essentially what we try to do is squeeze our butt, bring our ribs and hips closer together, holding tight. And say for a gymnastics tumbling movement, it would be arms here, behind the ears, or slightly looking at the hands. But what we're trying to do is create a curve of the body. The reason why we use this shape in gymnastics so much is because it's a very strong position. So if you took an archway, say like a Roman archway, the whole reason why they're built the way that they are is because they can take downward pressure, the weight of the structure above it, and kind of defer that toward where it connects on the ground, allowing this space to be open and not cave in. So a hollow position is really similar to these archways. And the idea is that the downward pressure here gets diverted downward to the floor, and the same thing works for an athlete in gymnastics. So we're just gonna go like this and remove this. I'm gonna take away my line that I drew here, and we're gonna just put a head and a body to make this look like an athlete. So we'll go head, we'll say it's a girl or a guy with a ponytail, feet are down here, and hands, right? So he or she is going into a back handspring or forward out of a front handspring, right? So smiling, having a good time. The next movement, say he or she is tumbling this direction. So this person came from being upside down, ponytail here, and feet and hands on the floor, is now bouncing into this next shape. So head will be here, and remove the top part of this line, hands, you get the idea. So this is the sequence of a tumbling pass of handspring and handspring. And the reason why this is such a useful position is not just because of the strength that, or the tension, the pressure pushing down can be deferred to the floor, but also because there's such a small range of motion between the forward hollow shape and the arch shape that it doesn't take much time to make that change. So he or she, when tumbling and their feet connect with the ground, they make that change immediately. So this is also useful for, say, vaulting, where they run, bounce off a springboard, and hit because it applies a lot of pressure onto their hands. This is also what you would consider when an athlete, a gymnast, we'll say, is doing swings on the bar. We call them giants. It's a giant swing, where here's the bar. They start from a full handstand, again, smiling, ponytail. So they start from a full handstand. As they swing down, they allow their body to slightly go into a hollow position. And then as they come across the bottom here, they have now created a lot of upper body speed and momentum. The feet are now going really fast. And then from this position at the bottom, the athlete will go into an arch shape, which allows the feet to go from the bottom into another hollow on the front side. And because the upper body is basically the driving force pushing through, when the feet come through the bottom, they're going from back to forward, it creates more speed. So the athlete goes up and continues the hollow shape, and then as he or she gets closer to the top, they start, I made that foot backward, they start the movement over. So a lot of these hollow arch shapes are being used quite frequently in CrossFit. That's why I wanted to make this video, because I believe that the hollow position, the hollow and arch combination in gymnastics is very, very relevant. You cannot perform skills as well without it. Now, what is the point of kipping in CrossFit? So, the definition I use for kipping is using lower body momentum to create less work for the upper body. It's pretty reasonable, right? Even handstand push-ups, kipping ring dips, kipping pull-ups, butterfly pull-ups is still kipping, kipping ring muscle-ups, etc. So the whole point of kipping is to create upward lift. Not swing necessarily, but upward lift. When you go to approach a kipping pull-up, I would like you to consider, you're not swinging, right? A kipping swing is not actually your body moving forward and backward very much, right? So the athlete starts from a hang, and we'll use the pull-up, for example, needs to get up there. The whole idea with CrossFit is that we are trying to do things quickly and efficiently, using the least amount of energy possible, if possible. This is a kipping, not a strict movement, right? So the athlete needs to try to drive up with as little effort as possible, and then come down, and then go back up, and come down, and repeat and repeat. So it's going to go through a lot of phases of repetition. What is the best way to fight gravity? Well, the whole thing is that gravity pulls straight down, right? Now, if I had one of those tennis ball cannons, right? So you've got a cannon here, it's shooting tennis balls forward, somebody's over here ready to hit him, right? Now, say the power is 100%. It is putting out as much effort as absolutely possible, all this energy shooting a ball as fast as it can. If we were trying to get that ball to go high, would we aim this cannon up to 45 degrees and shoot the ball out this way? Or would we aim that cannon straight up into the air? I think logically, the ball will go higher before it runs out of speed and drop if it's shot up vertically. If it shoots out this way, it's going to have more of this long arcing shot, and its height will not be as high as if it was shot straight up against gravity. Now we take into consideration what that means for a kipping pull-up. So if the arch hollow position is what's used most frequently to teach kipping, you have an arch, right? Here's the bar, smile, and a hollow. I don't know why the head just got smaller. Okay, anyway, just imagine it's a good head. So the feet are going from back now this way. That's not a lot of upward lift. In my opinion, if this were the cannon that I was just referring to, shooting a ball this direction, it would go out and down. So the approach that I like to take is let's shoot the energy upward. This is where I divert from my gymnastics roots, and I think it's important to understand that yes, hollow has a very good home in a lot of different movements, and you will see advanced athletes using a hollow shape while they cycle butterfly pull-ups and things like that. But you will also see a very large majority of elite level athletes that are swinging to what I like to call a half toes to bar. So they go from whatever arch position, we won't discuss that right now, to what I would consider a half toes to bar. Basically swinging the legs from back to horizontal or parallel with the hip. This creates upward lift of the leg, not forward lift anymore. So from this position, when the feet come swinging through, when they get stopped, several ways to look at this. They either stop, which causes hip extension, or the hips extend, which causes them to stop. Whichever it may be, the legs pretty much just float there. They just kind of hover in this area while the athlete goes from, the kipping half toes to bar through the hip extension. Now the feet are same height, right? And then adds the pull up just by pulling, might as well just draw another one. Pulling the arms. What am I doing? Yep. Nope. This way. So now the athlete has like a 90-degree bend in their arm. We'll say their chin is higher than the bar. But all it was a half toes to bar, a hip extension, and then an arm pull. This is how I like to approach kipping movements. It's not so much that I'm trying to get away from the hollow position and do something completely weird, throwing people off the whole hollow arch track. But this makes a lot more sense to me. If I'm trying to go upward, shouldn't I shove some body weight that way? Give it a shot with your kipping pull-up and see how it feels. Because I know as a fact that this movement, going from the arch to the hollow in gymnastics, it puts a lot of immediate strain on the body. One of the things that people tend to argue with me is that kipping movements are unhealthy for your body and they can cause injury. But if you put a kid in a gymnastics club, the first thing they do is start flopping around, swinging on a bar. They're not jeopardizing their health. When you are kipping through these movements, say even kipping swings, I think that going hollow arch on a kipping swing is a great movement. I don't think it's relevant for the kipping pull-up necessarily, especially for somebody who's trying to learn their first butterfly or kipping pull-ups. But it's a very good movement because what it does is it applies a ton of load in a very small amount of space. If you have a beginning athlete hang from a bar and do small kipping movements, what they're going to be exercising is the insertion point of their lat, controlling the shoulder, letting it or keeping it close to their body and not allowing the shoulder to separate from the body. And so it's the insertion point of that muscle that's being strengthened. And it's a very simple movement. It's easy on their hands. It's not terribly complicated. It'll build up strength. So down the road, they can kip a little bit harder without jeopardizing, the insertion points or, tearing the muscle from the tendon. So yes, there is a home for this. But for kipping movements, kipping toes to bar, for kipping movements, like the kipping pull-up, this seems to be more relevant. And as far as physics are concerned, I think it makes a lot more sense. There is one place in CrossFit movements that I like people to find the hollow shape, and that's during a ring swing. Rings are slightly different as opposed to, say, the bar. But the ring swing in itself is a great exercise for building up strength in the lats, strength in the biceps insertion. Also, it's repetitive ring swinging is really good for learning how your body moves on the rings. If you don't know how to ring swing, then you probably shouldn't try muscling up, right? Or kipping, you can strict. So the ring swing would actually look like this. It's the strap, it's the ring, and your body should be stretched out, head here, smiling, and feet staying low. That's a hollow shape. The opposite would happen. So if the rings were forward, the athlete would be swinging this way, head looking more toward the floor. And so we have the hollow and arch there. It's just the natural way that your body's going to move during ring swings. So take food for thought for the kipping pull-up, that when it comes to the hollow shape, and I honestly cannot think of another movement in CrossFit where the hollow shape is necessary other than here. So I want you to give it some thought. Try it out with your athletes if you're a coach, the kipping half toes to bar, that is. Remember that doing the hollow arch drill on the bar is great for strengthening the lat insertion, but by no means would I put an athlete, especially a beginner athlete, in a position where they think that they are supposed to hollow arch and then get their chin up over the bar. The feet are too low, and when they go to pull, they end up having to drag the rest of their body up. Thank you for watching, and I hope you understand why there's a difference between the hollow in gymnastics and why I consider a lack of hollow for the most part in CrossFit.